The ferry had been rocking for about 40 minutes when he knocked on the door of the little medical room tucked between the engine compartment and the crew quarters. I'd been sitting there reading, half asleep, with a cup of coffee that had gone cold an hour ago. Not exactly the busiest shift of my career. He came in sideways, the way people do when they're embarrassed to need help. Tall, somewhere in his mid-30s, with the kind of sunburn you get from spending 3 days on a deck thinking you don't need sunscreen. He had a jacket over one arm and was holding it against his stomach in a way that told me everything before he said a word. He stopped, started again. Someone said there was a nurse on board. Guilty, I said, and set down my book. His name was Daniel. He'd been traveling alone for 2 weeks, doing some kind of slow coastal route. Ferries, small towns, the kind of trip where you figure things out. He'd been feeling off since morning. Nausea, some dizziness, a low fever that had been climbing since lunch. He showed me the little pharmacy thermometer he'd been checking obsessively. 101.4. Not catastrophic, but on a rocking boat with another 3 hours until port, not nothing either. I had him sit down on the narrow exam bench, and I noticed his hands, the way they were pressed flat against his thighs, like he was trying to keep them still. He wasn't succeeding. First time on a ferry? I asked, not because I didn't know the answer. That obvious? The jacket pressed to your stomach is a classic tell. He laughed, a little reluctantly. Good. Laughter relaxes the diaphragm. It also relaxes the person holding the needle, which, in this case, was going to matter in a few minutes. I took his temperature myself, because thermometers people carry in their bags have a way of being optimistic. 101.8. I checked his pulse, a little quick but strong. His blood pressure was fine. The fever was real, but his body was handling it. That's the thing people forget about fever. It isn't the enemy. It's the immune system doing exactly what it's supposed to do. The enemy is when it climbs past 104 and stays there. Below that, especially in a healthy adult, the fever itself isn't what you treat. You treat the discomfort. You treat the dehydration. And Daniel was dehydrated. I could see it in the slight dryness around his mouth, the way his eyes looked a little sunken. He admitted he hadn't eaten much and had been drinking coffee all day, which, I told him gently, is basically a polite way of asking your body to give up. Coffee is a diuretic, I said. It pulls water out faster than it puts it in. So every cup you had today was essentially a vote against yourself. He looked genuinely remorseful. It was charming. I gave him water first. Real water, not the fizzy kind. And I made him drink it slowly, small sips, steady pace, while I explained why. When you're nauseated, gulping anything is a gamble. The stomach needs time to accept what you're giving it. Small amounts, repeated. Think of it like convincing someone who's already upset. You don't shout, you speak quietly, and you wait. While he drank, I decided on an antiemetic injection, something to settle the nausea so he could actually absorb fluids and, eventually, food. Oral medication wasn't going to be reliable in his current state, not with the boat moving and his stomach already staging a protest. I explained what I was going to do. I always explain. Not because I'm required to, but because the moment a patient understands what's happening, their whole body changes. The shoulders drop half an inch. The jaw unclenches. The muscle I'm about to work with stops being a fist. It's going in the shoulder, I said. The deltoid. Have you had injections there before? Once, in college. I remember it hurt. What hurt was probably the angle, I said, or someone going too fast, or both. I had him take off his jacket and roll up his sleeve. I found the spot, 3 finger widths below the bony point of his shoulder, right in the center of that rounded muscle. That's your landmark. You want to be in the thick of it, away from the bone above and the nerves and vessels that run lower. The deltoid is forgiving if you respect it. It's small compared to, say, the gluteal muscle, so you don't have a lot of room for error, but you have enough. I clean the skin with an alcohol swab and let it dry. This part matters more than people think. Injecting through wet alcohol stings unnecessarily, and there's no reason to make someone flinch before you've even started. Take a slow breath in, I said, and let it out while I do this. Don't hold it. He nodded. I could see the muscle tense slightly in anticipation, that pre-flinch that almost everyone does. So I waited. Just a beat. Just long enough for him to exhale and for his shoulder to soften back into itself. Then I went in at about a 90-degree angle, smooth and steady. Not slow. Hesitation is what causes pain. But not rushed either. Confident. Like you know exactly where you're going, because you do. I aspirated briefly, confirmed placement, and delivered the medication slowly, evenly. The rule is roughly 10 seconds per milliliter. Rushing that last part is what causes that deep, aching pressure people complain about afterward. I withdrew the needle in one clean motion and pressed a small piece of gauze to the site. "That's it," I said. He blinked. Wait, you already did it? About 15 seconds ago. He looked at his shoulder like it had betrayed him by not making a bigger scene. Huh. I pressed lightly on the site for a moment, not rubbing, just gentle pressure to help the medication distribute and to keep any bruising minimal. Then I taped a small bandage over it, more for his peace of mind than any medical necessity. "You'll feel the nausea start to ease in about 20 minutes, I told him. Maybe 30. In the meantime, keep sipping the water. If you feel worse before then, come back." He put his jacket back on slowly, like he was still processing the anticlimax of the whole thing. "Can I ask you something?" he said. "Sure." "Do you actually like this? Being the person who—" He gestured vaguely at the small room, the little cabinet of supplies, the rocking boat. All of this. I thought about it for a second. Not because I didn't know the answer, but because I wanted to give him the real one. "I like the moment right after," I said, "when someone's been scared and then they're not. When the thing they were dreading turns out to be nothing. Just a breath and a few seconds, and then it's over." I capped the needle, dropped it in the sharps container. There's something very satisfying about being the person who makes that happen. He was quiet for a moment. The ferry rolled gently. Somewhere above us, someone was playing music through a small speaker, something slow, something with a lot of guitar. "Thank you," he said. And he meant it the way people mean it when they're a little surprised by their own relief. I told him to find a seat near the middle of the boat, lower deck, closer to the waterline, where the motion is least. I told him to stay away from the windows if the horizon made him dizzy, and to eat something small when he felt ready. Crackers, plain bread, nothing rich. I told him that if his fever climbed past 103, or if he felt short of breath, he should find me again immediately. He nodded at each instruction like he was memorizing them. I liked that about him. He left. The door swung softly behind him. I sat back down with my cold coffee and my book, and I listened to the engine and the water and the faint music from upstairs. There are shifts where nothing happens and you feel useless. And then there are the ones where someone knocks on your door sideways, embarrassed to need you, and you get to remind them, gently, without making a big thing of it, that needing help is just being human. Those are the shifts I remember.